Hello, my name is Hakon and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to have a little look and a comparison between two different web cameras. Over the last year particularly, more and more people use things like Google Meets and Zoom to conduct both business and social interaction with others because of lockdowns and pandemics and all that nonsense. And Therefore, a lot of people might also feel it's time to upgrade whatever webcam might be built into the screen of their laptop, or their desktop screen as well might have a built-in webcam, and you want to get something proper. And if you want to get something proper, it is also a good idea to skip the really cheap ones and go for a brand name web camera that is maybe in the sort of 80 to $120 pound euro range of price. And that also gives you a webcam that is suitable for not super high quality YouTube videos or TikTok videos or Instagram videos, but it will give you something that is usable, if not super sharp or giving a good sense of depth and things like that. So when I started making videos on YouTube, I went first of all with the Logitech c922 Pro. I'm not sure if the Pro is actually makes a difference if there is more than one kind of 922, but it is called c922 Pro. Sometimes I see it also referred to as Pro HD. Or full HD, but C922 Pro was the first one I got. And then secondarily, I also decided that I could use two cameras at the same time sometimes for convenience. And so I also got the Logitech StreamCam, also HD. Now, I do say HD now, high definition, 1920 by 1080 pixel resolution. That is to say, that's not the resolution, that is the output size of the video. They don't technically resolve that much detail. And if you look at the background behind me now, I'm going to compare that a little bit later with between these cameras both. I think they will resolve similarly, these two cameras, and also I will do a comparison with a photo made by a proper camera of the same background in the same, roughly the same resolution, so you can compare and see how that looks. Generally speaking, though, they will resolve less detail than a proper camera, like a big sensor camera, like a Micro Four Thirds or a 1-inch bridge camera or something like the Sony RX, or anything with a bigger sensor than that. Right, so here we have a little comparison between a reference photo from the Panasonic FZ1000, which does give basically the full detail level of a full HD picture. It is scaled down to 1920 by 1080. That is to say, it's to match the resolution of the C922 and the StreamCam. So the images for the webcams there have been cropped. They have not been resized for this comparison. So this is the actual image from the camera without any changes. And you can see right away that there is quite a bit more detail level in the reference photo at the bottom. That said, the StreamCam is holding its own rather well. It resolves less, but it's still quite decent. And the C922 is fuzzier, and also it gets fuzzier towards the edge of the picture. You can't really see that so well in this example, but it does get fuzzier towards the edges. That said, the 922 is sharper, it seems, at close focus than it is at infinity focus, and that's something I will get back to later. So just to give you a little view of how the resolution actually is compared to what it could be for an HD camera. Right, just to show you a little bit of the features of the Logitech StreamCam, this is what it looks like. It comes with two cradles. So there's one cradle that you can use to attach it to a tripod mount, standard tripod mount. And there's one that is for balancing it on top of a screen. And it's very adjustable in many directions. I would have really have liked the tripod thread to be here on this camera, because it would have made adjusting the exact position of the camera easier. As it is now, it is fixed to the tripod, and so you have to have the tripod be flexible enough to move it around. That's perfectly fine. So when it comes to the cable, it is, I haven't measured it now, but I would say it's about 6 feet in length roughly, and it comes with a USB-C type plug. By the way, very important little piece of information. You may often see about this camera, people will say it's USB 3. That is absolute nonsense. This is a USB 2 camera. It just has a Type C plug. So if you use an adapter like this is a USB 3 adapter, but still, if you use this adapter like so to turn it into this kind of plug, you can still use this in a USB 2 socket. It doesn't require USB 3. So if it had been 4K, it would have needed USB 3 probably, but being just HD, it doesn't have enough need for bandwidth to need to be USB 3. So I just get for me, I just got a simple adapter like this. I do have C plugs on my desktop, but they are further away than I need them to be because the cable isn't super long. And so I use this in my USB hub on my screen and plug it in that way. Another nice thing about the cradle, of course, is that it can go in both horizontally and vertically like that. Very practical. It's a nice, solid feeling camera. Let's have a little look at the 922. So this is the older model now, USB 2 plug. So it's quite clear that this is a USB 2 camera. I wouldn't have thought this is backward compatible with USB 1. So USB 2 is fine, USB 3 of course as well. And this one has the tripod thread integrated into the screen cradle, which means it is very easy to adjust this camera on a tripod, or as I use it, on a gooseneck. Very practical. One thing I must say about this one, also more than the StreamCam, is that it is susceptible to glare. So if you have a lamp that is in front of the camera and the light from the lamp is shining towards the camera, even though it is quite off to the side, you can get glare. So a few times I've actually just glued or taped a little bit of cardboard on top of the camera here as a shade, and that actually reduces glare and you get a nicer picture. Not a big deal, not usually important, but something to bear in mind. That seems to be less of a problem with the StreamCam, which also has a little finger smudge on it. And of course, they do get more glare on the cameras when the lens area here is dirty as well. So it's a good idea to clean them. Otherwise, not a big difference. You see this one is quite chunky, easy to hold in the hand, of course, and that is one feature that I think Logitech were planning with this, that you can hold it in your hand and you can show something on your desk, like a product video, for instance, and it does have image stabilizing. Although I would say the image stabilizer in it isn't super effective, it is still better than not having any. Right, so I'm going to look at a few different things now when it comes to these cameras. I'm going to look at the software they come with, and of course, since both of these are Logitech, that's going to be the same for both cameras. I'm going to run through some of the features you get in the software. I'm going to look at the sound or compare the sound between the two. Right now, I am recording my sound through a Sony PCMD100 field recorder. And I'm also recording the sound from the cameras so I can compare the result afterwards. I'm going to look at sharpness. I'm going to look at how they focus, how they expose. And at the moment, just so that they are actually quite comparable, at the moment I'm running both cameras through Pinnacle Multicam, which is a very useful piece of software that allows you to record multiple cameras and also the screen at the same time. And it's I've got them both set to exactly the same settings. So I've got manual brightness, contrast, saturation, sharpness, white balance set to the same for both cameras. You will notice now it looks a bit different between the two. I've also got exposure set to the same both cameras, and so we can find out how they behave now. So the picture doesn't look too different at the moment between the two. You will notice that the 922 looks a bit more saturated to start with, and the StreamCam looks more neutral. So the StreamCam is more accurate in its colors to start with. The saturation is by default higher on the 922 for a more punchy look. So you get more saturation and more contrast on the 922. That's one of those things you notice right away. Let's have a little look at focus, and also this might show a little bit about how it changes exposure. If I grab a book, for instance, just something off the shelf here, and just to see how quickly it focuses, and also this is quite a dark book now. So let's see how the 922 behaves now as I move this closer. Okay, of course, now I didn't use exposure this time. I didn't use the auto expose this time, but I'm going to do that afterwards. And let's see how the StreamCam handles this one. Looks to me like actually the 922 handled that one a little bit better. Maybe if I go with something a little bit more bright colored, let's see how that behaves. So let's try the 922. Just going to change my view here. And let's try the StreamCam, and also note how quickly or slowly it focuses back to where it's supposed to be. I'm going to change my view to the StreamCam. It looks like the StreamCam is struggling a little bit on the closest focusing. But it seems to me right away that the 922 actually focuses a little bit closer than the StreamCam, but I can check that now in the manual settings. So if I go to my control there, and I can now set the... So now I'm setting the StreamCam to be as close as it can be. And as we can see, that is here. It's about there. Let's do the same with, let's see, I'll just put it back on autofocus. And let's do the same with the 922. So I'm going to do this manually and set that to as close as it can be. And it looks like that is a bit closer. So that is interesting. That means that if you need a camera that to go really, really close to something, the 922 might actually be the better option. Another thing that I do notice sometimes, not always, is that when I have a very busy background, like I do with a bookshelf, certainly the StreamCam, which is the one I use the most for my face shots and for this background, it very often focuses on the background rather than on me when I am using it. I'm not actually sure how the 922 compares when it comes to that, but it seems that the 922 has more stepped focus ranges. That is to say, there's fewer steps from infinity to close focus on the 922 than there are on the Logitech. And I can show you that now by running through it. So if I go to the 922 now, and I go to, now I'm at infinity. I'm just going to run through the numbers here. So I'm doing a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, 20, 30, 38, 40, 50, 60, 70, etc. And passing 100. And gradually I go all the way up to 250. That is the highest setting. And go back to infinity. And if I do the same on the StreamCam, starting at 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I'll just move it gradually now. 90, 100, 120, 150, 60, 70, 80, 90, 200, and all the way to 255, actually, this one. And it looks like it has a higher resolution on the focus. It's smoother through the range than the focus is on the 922, which looks a little bit more steppy. Not necessarily a good or a bad thing, either of them. It might actually make it easier to set the focus on the 922 sometimes because you don't have that many steps to choose from. Whereas on the StreamCam, it might be a little bit trickier to be sure that you have the focus right. So again, pros and cons, I think, to both cameras. Now, when it comes to sound, there is no contest, really, because if you listen to this now, so now I'm going to move the sound to the 922. So the 922 is the sound you hear right now. And the 922 sounds like this. And then I'm going to move the sound to the StreamCam, and this is what the StreamCam sounds like. And as you can hear, it is a lot clearer. In fact, it is so much clearer that for a little while I thought maybe I could just simply use the StreamCam as a recording device for sound as well, and it might be good enough for my videos. But then again, I realized that it wasn't that good, and I do like to have good sound for my videos, which is why I use the Sony field recorder, which has a very good sound and very quiet preamps as well. But the Logitech StreamCam, I think, is actually good enough to use for videos as a single device, both for video and for sound recording. If you need good sound, the 922 is not your choice. So I think if sound means something to you, I would say that the StreamCam is going to be much better value for money. By the way, at the moment, I just checked prices, and the 922 retails for about £80, and the StreamCam retails for about 115. I think that if sound in a webcam matters to you, that price difference is definitely worth it to get the StreamCam. Right, here we are in Logitech's own software for recording cameras, and it allows you to use up to 2 cameras at the same time, or 2 sources. One of the sources, or both sources, can also be the whole screen, or it can also be a window on your desktop. So I've now got source 1 set to the StreamCam. So if you click on source here, you get the options. You get StreamCam or the c922. So those are the two cameras that I've got attached to my computer. You can also set it to display, which is going to be quite trippy now. And you can set it to a window. So I got yeah, that looks really strange now because it's tiny. That's my screen grabber's window. So I'm going to put it back now to the StreamCam. And yes. And of course, for the StreamCam, you have a few options that you don't have with the c922. I'll get back to those. So source number 2 is the c922, and I'll just run through the settings here actually. So on the StreamCam, you have something called backlight correction, which basically just reduces the contrast and gives you an even more neutral exposure, making it even easier to adjust later in post-processing. That feature is not on the c922. The c922 is by default more punchy, more colorful, and therefore, oh, you can see the colors are changing there. You see that in the background? And therefore, it's also a little bit harder to adjust them too much after the fact. It looks very nice right out of the camera, as long as you get your color, what's the word I'm looking for? The white balance right. But if you want to adjust white balance and other things afterwards, then you do have a lot more to work with a more neutral range of colors you get from the StreamCam. You will also notice the StreamCam now is a little bit darker than the c922. I haven't checked the image settings now. They are both set to default settings. Of course, this is where you can adjust brightness. So I can adjust brightness a little bit, or maybe that's too much. And you can set contrast and saturation. And let's see, 1 to 8. So that is that's saturation, and the other one is, what's this one again? Usually you can't adjust these settings a lot before it looks really wonky. I normally keep them at neutral, and then if I need to do any adjustments, I do them later in DaVinci Resolve, or you can use your video editor and do other things afterwards. Now, another thing that's different here is that for the 922, there's no choice of mono or stereo sound. On the StreamCam, it says mono or stereo, or dual mono or stereo. I'm not sure if actually it is stereo properly. Certainly I haven't felt like it is stereo, but that's fine. Now, an interesting thing here that is also just a feature on the StreamCam is image stabilization. So if I click image stabilization and then we wait a little bit, you see it has now zoomed in a little bit on me, and that means that now it will try to stabilize the image. I'm not sure how effective it is. I haven't really noticed a big difference from having it on and having it off. I think the idea is that if you're using it handheld to show something and move it around, it will be a little bit more stable. Most people don't do that, but if you want to sort of show something and move it around, that is an option. Auto framing, that is something that is also, you can see, not on the 922, and this actually works rather well. So auto framing, it will immediately move like that, and now it will try to follow me as I move around, and this actually works really well. So, but as you can see, it doesn't really focus so well on me, but it certainly follows me rather well. Very often, as you can see, it focuses on my background instead of on me, but the auto framing works really well. And I've used it successfully many times. You can also set zoom manually and then move around like so, but yeah, that is if you want a specific view, especially if you're not editing afterwards. If it's a live stream, for instance, then that would make sense. Autofocus is now on. I'm going to test that in a moment. Auto white balance is on. I'm going to switch that off now. So just to see it's set, I like it a little bit warm usually, so I would set it somewhere around there normally for my view. And then we have image settings, anti-flicker set to your hertz rate. We are 50, aren't we? I can't remember, sure. I think it's 50 hertz in the UK, isn't it? I think so. Chroma key, of course, you can set it to green or blue. Now, because of the slightly fuzzy picture you would get on a webcam, a chroma key isn't going to be very nice and neat necessarily. You would certainly have to have a very nice, even background for that to work. Advanced settings, at the bottom there, it's just, doesn't sound very advanced to me, but it's flipping horizontally or vertically. So for instance, I'll just show you now, because on the 922, this is a camera that's now technically mounted upside down. So if you see down here, it is set to horizontally flip source and vertically flip source, which means it compensates for being upside down. Very useful, actually. So we don't have to do that later. So going back to the StreamCam, I think that's pretty much it. So let's have a little look at autofocus again. So, and now we're also going to notice the effect of auto exposure as well, because we can't change. If I do, if I set it to frame rate, just to check that, and then we check, I'm going to move something white now towards the StreamCam. I'm going to do the book again. See, it got immediately darker. And then I'm going to see how it handles the focus. Not too bad, not too bad, actually. It can't focus that close, so it's about there. And then move it away, and you see the exposure changes again. Let's try the dark book. So it should now go brighter as I move this closer. There it starts focusing. That's about there, I think I can get, and then I move away and it should get a bit brighter again. Let's also notice now, how long does it take before it actually starts focusing on this thing? So you can see the background is pretty much in focus now. And as I move this closer, there it is, there it's picked up on something. Then it doesn't really, it ignores it for a while. It really isn't that great at picking up on the fact that it needs to refocus when your background is this busy. If you don't have a busy background, it's a lot easier for the camera. Let's compare the StreamCam, not the StreamCam, the c922 now. So let's do the white one. You see it got darker right away. And as we move closer, it actually is handling the exposure reasonably well. And focus. And this one, again, you can see it focuses closer than the StreamCam, and there it goes back. It focuses a bit slower than the StreamCam, which means that if you use autofocus and it starts hunting, it will be more noticeable on the c922 because it takes longer to focus. So let's try this one again, and it gets brighter. Are we focusing? I'll just move this close. And again, I can get a lot closer. And let's try the focus test as well, see how long it takes before it knows. Oh, hang on, is it already doing it? Okay. It knows it needs to refocus on this. There it is. Okay. But then it went back to the background again. Now it certainly should. There it is again. So it does get distracted by the background, this camera too. Both cameras seem to use a similar autofocus algorithm in terms of trying to establish. The white one was actually better there. It focused better on the white than on the black, which makes sense because it's less light detailed for it to actually pick up on the black background. So in this test, I think that both doing reasonably well. The StreamCam is faster at focusing, but it also doesn't go as close. The c922 slower to focus, but it goes closer. And also you may notice now it looks to me certainly like the picture on the StreamCam is sharper than the picture on the c922, so it looks like the infinity sharpness is lower on c922 than on the StreamCam, but it does go closer in absolute terms. So both pros and cons for both of them, really. Other things you can do with the software, you can get a watermark that says Logi down in the corner. If you see that over on the, let's see, down in the corner there. You can get a text overlay. You can get scene effects, which some different visual effects. Of course, now I have to choose the right camera there. And you see some of these are locked, and the reason they're locked is because they're only available if you log in. I haven't logged in right now. I can't be bothered to do it at the moment, but you get a few more visual effects available to you, different filters. There's a monochrome, there's some sort of different, yeah. I don't use them really, but it's not a big deal to create an account with Logitech and logging in and getting them available to you. So that's quite nice. You can set a border color if you want. Let's see if I can get it up here. Oh, I have to select source as well. So now I'm on source 2. There we are. And then you can get a border. Also something I don't really use. Transitions, I have not really played around with these. I'm not sure how I use them now. But because I don't use this for anything, I don't use it for recording, I don't use it for live usually, or live streaming. I usually use multicam for recording, and yeah. But I'm going to show you something quite nifty in this Logitech software that I can't do in anything else that is very useful sometimes. Right, next tab here is resolution, and you can see you can get both landscape, portrait mode, and square mode. And of course, if you move your StreamCam, because I showed you earlier how it is in the cradle and can be set to landscape mode. So if I move that to landscape mode, it will now automatically change the video resolution to landscape mode as well, or to portrait, sorry. So if I move it back, it will go back to landscape. I'm going to show you a little trick about that in a moment. You can set where you save your files, and also whether you want a 3, 2, 1 countdown. So when you press record, you get a 3, 2, 1 countdown, a framing grid, if you want to sort of make sure your things are balanced in your frame. Sound, audio settings are either default microphone, line microphone from the webcam, from either of the webcams, and of course usually I would use the StreamCam sound because it is better than the other one. You have keyboard shortcuts, and you can save the settings as a profile. Now, one thing I need to show you though, very interesting feature here, is down here on the border at the bottom here, and you set which camera is active. So now I'm on 1, the StreamCam, 2 on the c922, but I get also picture-in-picture with the this is with the c922 as the main one, and then I got the StreamCam down here. I can move this and I can resize it as well. You can make it really small, and you can make it about this big. So very useful. Also, if you want to use the screen as the source now, so you can move this around a little bit as well. And you can switch them around. So now it's the other way around. It's the StreamCam that is the main camera, and the 922 is the secondary camera. Now, the really interesting ones, I think, are the ones we get to here, because now you get a square picture from source number 2, which is the c922, and you get the tall picture here from number 1. So if I move my StreamCam to vertical, of course now it will change to automatically to that format for the whole video. But if I go to video settings, change the resolution to full HD, and then we go back to, not that one, this one. And that means that's quite a good view, because I can now use, for instance, this webcam on this side for my overhead view of my desk, and then I use this one to show myself, and I can set this one now to auto framing like so. And that is a very useful setting to have if you have two cameras. So this is one I've been using quite a lot when I've been doing my gamebook playing videos. So one camera for my overhead view and the other one for showing me. And also it follows me around when I move, which is very useful to a certain degree. It does. So that is quite a nice thing. Another thing, of course, when you have the auto framing on, again, it's going to be more difficult to do. You can't do invisible cuts anymore, of course. The cuts will be more visible when you have auto framing, because your frame will most likely be different from one side of the cut to the other. So yeah, if you're planning to do cuts, I wouldn't recommend it. If you're like me and you like doing things in one shot, it's fine. So I'm just going to go back now to the normal view, like so, on my StreamCam. And I think that is pretty much all I wanted to show you now. So as you can see, there are pros and cons with both of these cameras. I would say, as a sort of a blanket statement, if you want to do any post-processing on your video with colors, contrasts, and effects, the StreamCam has a definite edge because the output from it is a lot more neutral and therefore much better suited to being manipulated further without getting digital compression artifacts. And if you need to get really close to things and get a very good sharpness at close range, the 922 does seem to have the edge. And if you need to record sound from your webcam as well as video, then the StreamCam is a very good value for money, because it doesn't cost that much extra, but it may actually remove the need to get a cheap microphone, which can mess up your setup as well. So pros and cons for both of them. Both good cameras in their own ways, and both very useful in their own ways. And I can recommend both of them equally. But of course, different strengths depending on what you need it for. So do you have any of these cameras already? Do you have one or the other? Do you have both like I do? Or are you looking for a camera and wanting to buy one? Which one would you buy and why? Well, you can leave a comment about that below if you like. And thanks for watching. It's been nice having you with me for this little video, and I hope you found it useful. And if you did, please like, share, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 all those things. And I'll see you again in my next video if you watch it, and goodbye for now. Bye-bye.